Hey, there I am, and there you are. Hi! I'm Mike Morales. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That gentleman out there with the suspenders is?
Eric Zandona in Vancouver, Washington.
Hey, that's a nice little distillation. Is that a pin? Is that
Yeah, this is the pin for the company I work for ADI.
That's cool. Yeah, I should have like a Pinka or something, yeah. But we have no budget like you guys, We have none. I'm lucky I got a sign and a popsicle stick and a coaster. Eric, as usual, we are throwing the kitchen sink at you again.
I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have received, we were very fortunate to receive Aqara. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Maybe it's Aqara, but I'm going to go with Aqara. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's based on a Quechua word from Peru, so
yeah, this is Agave spirits de los Andes, from the Andes. You're going to be aware, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be seeing a lot more of these on the market. They are coming fast and furious. And Eric, as a matter of fact, Eric is in one of our most recent profiles in Agave spirits, and I like your predictions are very much, yours and ours are very much on that line. You're going to start seeing a lot more Agave spirits, a lot more outside of denominations of origins, destilados, the agave in Mexico, because a lot of it's just, the demand for it is there.
Yeah.
And this one is distilled a little over 2,200 meters, 2,256 meters in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully they moved heaven and earth to get this to us. What do we know about it? Because I know that we usually drink something first and then we tell people about it, but I think we should do a little forewarning here.
Yeah. So the distillery, as it says on the bottle, is like 2,500-ish meters above sea level. And they're in a region of Peru where a bunch of agaves grow. And according to their information, there are, I think they said more than a dozen varieties of agave that grow in that region. But they're harvesting agave americana and agave salmiana.
Right.
So they're using those from their area. And from what we could see, they are harvesting the agaves sort of like you would see in tequila. They have the big coas, cutting off the pencas. But then one interesting thing is that whereas in say tequila or in mezcal, the either whole or quartered or halved piñas would be roasted or cooked in some way, before they get milled, they're chopping up the piñas into little pieces before they're cooked. And then they don't have any information about their fermentation or their cooking. So we're not really sure what they're doing there, but then they're distilling it. It looks like they have a German style pot still. And the interesting thing is in some of their marketing material, they show like an open flame, but then the still that they have is runs on steam. It's steam heated. It's got a jacket around it. Right. So I'm not really sure what's going on exactly. Maybe they're doing both. Maybe they have like a fired still for the first run and maybe a steam one, or vice versa.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. They do have an Instagram, so whatever information that we see on Instagram that they sent to us, they did send us a short little video that you can also see on Instagram. It's how they harvest. These are wild harvested out in the hills and mountains of the Andes.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let's pour some and taste it. I'll tell you what I've read here in the back of the label. It's in Spanish.
Yeah.
But I think I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued because this is, you and I have had mezcals made with salmiana.
Yeah.
This is at 80 proof, so it's a 40 ABV. Um, wow, holy cow, that is really aromatic.
Yeah, it is.
Holy cow! I'm using the Stossel Jarrito for mezcal. Even though it's an 80 proof, I thought it might help me, identify a little bit more what's
Yeah.
there. Beautiful legs and tears. You're using that Glencairn, that handy
Yep.
dandy Cairn.
Yeah, they're just sheeting right off. Sorry, I have a little frog in my throat. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need some agave.
You need some agave, dude. You've been talking, so
Yeah.
you're all dressed up. So I know you've probably had meetings and stuff like that, but
Yeah, I had some more Zoom meetings like everyone is doing these days, all the cool kids.
all the cool kids are on Zoom. The rest of us with no budget, we're on Skype. So, um, I am getting, what I want to say at the top layer, I was getting something yeasty, but that's not the case. It's just fleeting. And of
Yeah.
course, to be fair, we just broke these seals open.
Yeah.
I haven't had any and had no time to get into it. But I'm getting what I'm getting is very familiar, that anise kind of layer that I get sometimes, that you and I have had before on higher proof tequilas.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something there could be described as yeasty for sure. Definitely very floral
Right.
and like little notes of tropical fruit,
You know,
but
because,
light bright aroma. Really
yes.
nice.
Yeah, it's very bright, and you can tell too. It's rather clean. Now, what they say on the back of the label is that the water that they're using, if you know anything about the area of the Andes, they have glacier water. The
Yeah.
water is from old glaciers, and so, um, as we know in tequila, the water source is really important. So in the Andes, their water source that they have is up that high is glacier water. I really like the smell of this. The more it opens up, it's really pretty.
Yeah. I feel like it's it's not quite the same, but it's verging towards, I would say, like a more sort of tropical, sort of aromatic tequila, more so than say like just to give people a frame of reference,
Okay.
not like the earthy mezcal style, but more in the sort in that lighter floral tequila style.
Well, the
Not
other
not the same, but
right, and
in that way.
it's not. There's no perceptible smoke either. So there. I mean, there's none. So I'm not even sure how they're baking or cooking this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't smell pit roasted. So let's just eliminate that. It's not resembling a mezcal. It's resembling more of a tequila, at least on the nose right
Yeah.
now.
You know what I'm actually getting right now is a little bit of like Reese's peanut butter cup. There's this like slightly like sweet that's a nutty character that is like reminding my brain of peanut butter cups.
Well, I'm not getting peanut butter. I am getting the tropical fruit. And wouldn't it I think the descriptions that we were getting said that it resembles stone fruit. In other words, these are fruits with pits in them.
Yeah.
And so I don't, the ones that I know of personally are like nectarines and peaches and things, or even avocados for that matter.
Yeah.
Um, I gotta say, I'm really intrigued by the nose.
Yeah.
It is. It's not like anything. I can't even say that it resembles a mezcal. I can't say it resembles a sotol. You and I have had. I keep throwing stuff at you that nobody's tasted but you and me. And every time we taste something different, it. I guess this would be considered its terroir.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so the elevation's I think gonna play a role in what sort of flavors they're getting and all that. So Yeah, but I'm ready to taste it.
Yeah, let's dive in. Oh my. Oh. Oh. Oh, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man. I'm getting a lot of like orange blossom and orange, there's a citrusy note, but
Yeah.
it's more of it's deep,
Yeah.
like an almost like fruit. It's not even like a jam for me or a
Mhm.
blossom. It's beefy.
Yeah. There's a lot of flavor going on here. There's a lot of richness to it.
Yes.
Um, it's really fast. It's really something else.
Now, we're not even sure if they're using both plants in the same lots. In other words, they're using Salmiana
That was my impression.
and
That they're,
Agave Americana. I think they're just whatever is out there.
yeah.
They're blending,
Yeah.
but we don't even know. This Aqara and this Andean agave spirit is in its infancy.
Yeah.
It's still learning to navigate its own powers. It's like a superhero that doesn't know how strong it
Yeah.
is yet.
Yeah.
And
Well, from what they said, they started building the distillery in like 2016
mhm.
and they launched in 2019. And so they're just at the beginning phases of making this stuff. But it's got a really interesting flavor. It's got a really nice mouthfeel. Initially, it's a little bit spicy on
Mhm.
the palate, but that goes away, so it's got a really nice full rich flavor to it. A little bit fruity, a little bit what's quite the word? It's yeah, I mean beefy is sort of like it's in that like umami
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
rich
See, that's just
to it.
it. It's because I'm noticing on my palate that um, I'm getting a touch of bitterness, but it
Mhm.
is not something that is off-putting. It's not like you get not a dryness.
Yeah.
It's a residual flavor that happens. The way I describe it is when we've had tequilas they're infused with peppers, and
Hmm.
the more of these that we have, the more it coats your palate. But that particular flavor really stands out. That aftertaste. It's an aftertaste too. It's not off-putting. It's really the closest thing I can say is that it's like a bitterness, maybe like a bitter chocolate, where it just kind of
Yeah.
um, like a cacao or something. And that's another plant that has a stone pit in it, and
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated by this this
Hmm.
this whole. I wonder what it's like at a higher ABV. You know.
I think it would be intense.
Well, I mean, especially at 2,200 meters.
Yeah.
um, I
But
would
I
like
mean,
I would like to know more. I want to know how it's cooked, and if
yeah.
they're blending both plants together, and do they know do they have a ratio? Does it matter? I
Mm,
don't know.
yeah. I mean, there's a real, so probably not too surprising, that bitterness that you talked about,
Hmm.
it reminds me a little bit of pisco. So pisco is the grape brandy made in
Right.
Peru and in Chile, which they fight about.
Yeah.
But that aside, pisco will have this bright fruity floral character and also this like slightly bitterness that comes from the skins. So it reminds me of that a little bit, but has like the much broader body to it.
Yes.
And so it's really kind of fascinating.
Yeah. I
Do some really creative things, like for bartenders, they could do really creative things with this and sort of cocktails. I mean, the traditional like Margarita Paloma, I don't know. Maybe it would
No,
work, maybe not. But like,
this is more like a martini. It's almost like a gin, like an
yeah,
agave gin.
yeah.
And that's but it's still not the agave gin that I've had. You and I talked about this off camera. Is it's from a company called the Millicon, which makes it. Some of you folks may have seen our videos on those, and they make a beautiful agave gin.
Yeah.
This is really akin to that,
Yeah.
only not as ginny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course nowhere do they use a blue agave. They're using the agave americana.
Yeah.
I'm I'm totally I'm hooked, man. I
Yeah.
I am. I really am. I think
Yeah.
I think for a Peruvian, an Andean agave spirit, we have to nominate this thing.
Yeah, for sure. And this is one of the things I was talking about, in the book, in the interview,
Yes.
was that, so in their media information, there was a statement sort of about like tequila and mezcal was booming in Peru, and there's a sense of like they look around and like, well, we got the same stuff.
Yeah.
So, so it's not like it's at least it doesn't seem like it's necessarily a traditional beverage for this area, but it is something that is endemic to them, and it is a new spin on an agave spirit that we haven't tasted before, and that's
Yeah.
exciting.
I am totally I'm enamored. I think before let me read you a little bit about what they say on the back of the label before we head on out to the next tasting.
Yeah.
Aqara es un destilado artesanal premium de piñas de agave de las cordilleras negra y blanca de Callejón de Huaylas, Peru. All right, so the Cordilleras would be a mountain range.
Yeah.
The Negra and Blanca del Callejón Canyon. So these are wild harvested, folks. That's basically where they're telling you is, if you look at a map, you'll be able to tell exactly what area in the Andes this is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
El agua de los glaciares cercanos deja resaltar olores de hierbas. Okay, so what they're saying is that the glacier water that's in the area will give it herbal and notes of their terroir, okay, their ground. It's what is it? The word that we use in tequila? It's not the wet cement, but the area, the terrain. Yeah. Y recrea sabores que evocan. Okay, so it creates flavors that evoke fruits that are sweet, that have matured in their own pots.
Yeah.
So this is I guess it's very reminiscent of the areas where these are wild harvested. And if you look at the video, you can see it. They are in the middle of. It's like watching them harvest sotol. They're just and they're hacking away at these coas, and the ground is not level. The ground is like
like this.
Yeah, it's so you got to be real careful with those coas because one wrong move and this tastes like foot.
Yeah, well, that or the wrong cut, and all of a sudden you got a like 50-kilo piña coming at you.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got to be careful how you harvest them because I guess you roll them down the hill. You know what I mean? You use gravity. I don't know. But I love this stuff. This is amazing stuff, and it's strong character. I would see anything that I think in cocktails. I think if you're looking to do anything with like martinis and gins, with the traditional white spirits that are out there.
Yeah.
Even some rums, and like you said, even pisco, whatever you're coming up with, you could probably make a nice pisco sour with this stuff, and it would come out really tasty.
Yeah, I think so. I'm excited to learn more about it, and I think it's a fascinating character and new fun addition to the agave spirit family.
I do too. I am totally sold. I think they're at least in the distillation process, for a brand and an industry that is so young, they're really doing a hell of a job with it.
Yeah.
That aftertaste, that bitterness aftertaste is really tasty. It's like you said, it's kind of umami, and you don't get that. You really, unless you studied the tongue, you really don't know, what that's like. But congratulations to Aqara and the gentleman that made this happen. They even have the lot number here, written down. But anyway, that's our take on Aqara. This is the Plateado, okay, which is another way of saying unaged Blanco, Platino. But stick with us because we're going to try they're calling it, I guess it's a reposado. I think
reposado.
And that's coming up next. But that's our take on Aqara. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That gentleman out there is
Eric Zandona in Vancouver, Washington.
You have been listening and watching Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes, or if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that red button and hit the subscribe button and the bell, and every time we upload a video, you will be notified. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.